And you'll often notice people go, oh, that's mine, I can own it, that's okay, I can use it in places. And once you take that blame off, that's good. You can even do it with guilt.
You know, it was more than okay, it was kind of admirable that you had that quality in that situation.
Great.
I mean, you know, in the context where you're married, you don't want to be flexible about a situation that
about now, let's let him finish. What's your wife's number?
Flexible, but not in, you know.
What's your wife's number? So you want to restate that?
Okay. In the context where you're married, if you're in a situation where if you are
He's trying to say if you're married, I think he's trying to say.
Because you were in his group, yeah.
Right,
okay.
If you're married and you want to be very stubborn about your vows and you don't want like...
Oh, right. You want to be stubborn about what you promised to honor in your marriage.
Right.
Yes. Well done. Thank you. Yes, Ken.
I think finding a different context is really good because I think people tend to be a little bit habitual. So if you find one other context, it may cover a whole bunch of areas of the life.
Yes.
So there's a huge gain just in finding one context where it's useful. So if you find two of them, it's that much bigger.
So you notice what he did. He said if you have only one context in which that behavior exists and you find another one in which it's useful, then you really change.
We're habitual. We keep doing the same things over and
over and over and
so
over
you
again.
keep finding yourself in that same
It'll
situation.
change the pattern. Yes. 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 Okay. Plus, would you come play with me a minute?
Sure.
It's sort of like this. If pushing against someone in a certain context might be harmful, so please take that and push against this. So it's like we're both exerting a lot. Well, I'm exerting a lot of youth, and so all it's doing is wearing me down. But now, if I turn and you and I are both pushing this way, we can move. So this is just at a different context, right? We're both still pushing, but right now we're going somewhere. Thank you. Thank you. So, here's where sometimes you can get a little confused. In this context, this can look like fighting. That's the meaning we put to this behavior in this context. When we change the context and we're pushing this way together, it means we're moving forward. That changes the meaning. So, here's what if you change the context, you will often change the meaning of the behavior. Okay?
In our case, Marie said that she feels tired a lot, and then I told her different context that it's good because then you become a good planner. You only do what's important to you. But we didn't know how to...
That's meaning.
Oh, that's me.
That's the meaning. So, let's do this again, and then we'll go to meaning, where you're going to be really good at this. Context is where. So, your complaint was, give it to me.
Sometimes I'm just too tired.
Sometimes I'm just too tired. So, when you go to bed at night, that's a good time to be tired, eh? Yeah. Well, guys, back to the marriage thing again. I said, where is your wife? Is she here?
I'll be sure not to bring her to
Do you see? So it's where and when. It's where and when. So if you're too tired at the beginning of your workday, in that context, it's probably not useful. She's really enjoying this one. Say thank you, Oliver. Oh no. But if you're going to bed alone at night, then being tired is probably a good thing. Okay. Now, if you were going to bed at night not alone and you were too tired, that would have a different meaning, wouldn't it? Yeah. This is a good sign. Getting silly is a good sign. Okay. We are going to take a break and let this sink in. If I'm doing this here and I don't like it, where would I do the same thing and it would be okay? So just think about that as you take a 15-minute break. Yvonne had asked me yesterday morning when I was going to share something I had mentioned the first 2 days I was here about where we are when we negotiate. And it fits here nicely in context, because context is about where and how that shifts perception. In any conversation with another person, we are spatially in some relationship with them. And it really changes how what I say is perceived. Would you come play with me? So could you stand this way, facing that wall? Okay. And I'm going to stand way over here with my back to you, and I am going to say, I want you to do the dishes. Okay. Now turn toward me, and no, stay right there. I want you to do the dishes. Notice the difference between. Now notice if I stand this way and I say, I want you to do the dishes. Versus this way. I want you to do the dishes. Each position has a different response. What do you notice from the different places? So when I was over there with and we had our backs to each other, how was that?
That didn't do anything.
Now, how many of you yell at your spouse or children from a different room to instruct them to do something? How well does it work, by the way? Yeah. Now you see why. You will never forget this. You will remember this always. The next time you're about to scream at a spouse or a child or a coworker to do something and they're in a different room, you will remember his body and the response. Then you will remember, I would like you to do the dishes. So how is this different than that?
It's much more direct and intimate. I'm wondering why you're not standing on my left side, though.
Well, because you were right here.
Okay.
It's okay. And this is your future, isn't it?
Yes, but I receive through.
You receive through that. So you receive. Well, let's try this. So, and it's different for everyone. So
Because I feel argumentative if you're coming up to my right side. And
okay, so
telling me what to do.
great. So he's giving me information, right? So I want you to do the dishes. All right. So compared to that was much more powerful. This is even more powerful. Now, if you live with someone, you know this sort of stuff. You can experiment with this over time.
How do you find
Well,
out?
I just said it.
If you live with someone.
You experiment. You experiment.
Are there certain cues that you can...
Right, he knows because he's been working on himself and noticing things. But if you live with someone, if you work with them, play with it. Notice if I'm on this side, do I get, in general, a more positive response over time, each time, or this side, or directly, or that's best for you. How interesting. Now, so space, thank you, thank you.
There was also extreme variations in voice tone as well.
Well, because you're usually yelling if you're far away, right? Which causes a different response in order to be heard. So if I'm closer, the voice tone can go down. The strength of the voice, which has it creates a different response. Virginia Satir used to say that if you're dealing with someone who's very depressed, their energy gets sucked in closer. So you want to move closer to them when you talk. Because if you're way across the room, I don't care if you're yelling or what, you're not getting connection. So where we do something changes the response amazingly. Now, if you're negotiating or problem solving in a situation, the kinds of furniture that's there changes the where and you relate and the response. So if I'm problem solving with a group of people or negotiating around a table has a different response than if I put them here across from each other. So let's say we've got two teams that are fighting over resources, budget money, let's say. And I put team A, I place them like this, and team B here. How's that going to be different than if I put team A here? What do you think?
This will be fighting with each other.
Fighting with each other.
There will be more collaborative.
More collaborative, that's right.
Yeah, more cohesive down here as a front. And,
Right.
and up here more intermixed, more aware of what the people on the other side are
Yes.
next to each other. So.
When you're sitting, it looks like the person who is sitting and commanding is less powerful than the one who's standing. Is that...
Why do you think they put judges up high? So if a judge's desk is up here, whereas the witnesses and things are lower, aren't they? It's a power differential that's implied.
I was interviewing for a business attorney about 6 months ago, and I interviewed 5 of them. And the one that I eventually hired was the woman who came out from behind her desk and came and sat with me, and we worked together on the problem. And all of the other 4 all stayed behind their desk, kicked back like this, and being completely dissociated from what's going on.
Interesting.
Think about that in terms of sales. So the woman who came from around the desk and sat next to you is the one you hired.
Right.
The others sat behind their desk and leaned back.
Right.
They dissociated.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because on television you see most countries or companies bargaining with each other over something. They usually have the bottom
That's right.
rectangle.
They're directly across from each other.
Yeah.
Now, when I was a principal in a firm called Arbitration Mediation Associates, we had a special room built for our arbitrations and mediations. And it wasn't actually that difficult. The company that owned the building did it for us. And the room was a triangle. And the table that we put in like this, and it was a triangle. So the arbitrator was here, and the 2 parties were here. Or the mediator was here. 2 parties were here. This satisfied several things. The paperwork was easily transferred through the middle of the table. If each